We're on Pei Dalid, and we're going to continue speaking about the ships and other containers, and then we'll get to the next Mishnah, which will be about some farming tips, which may come in handy. So first, a couple of basic principles about the laws of Tuman Tahara. One is that about earthenware can become tameh only by touching the inside of it. Even someone tameh touches the outside, that would be okay. And I'm going to share my screen a second. Okay, and the second thing about that is that earthenware is not only by touching inside and not by sitting on it. In other words, if a zav sits on an earthenware, that's tumat midras. That does not apply to earthenware. Tumat midras does not apply to earthenware. Furthermore, earthenware cannot be dipped, cannot be koshered, cannot become tahor once it does become tameh. So it has some limitations, but also some benefits. Wood is different from the others because it's tameh only if it's a portable container. It has to actually be able to hold something and be moved around. And so we're going to talk now about large containers. If it's so big that can only be held by an animal, we're going to prove that, yes, it is still called portable. So that's what we're going to get to in a second. Let's just review quickly what we saw yesterday, because it's going to continue with that. The Mishnah said that a boat is always tahor. The Talmud brought two opinions why. One is the Tana of the Mishnah, that we call, right? The Tana of the Mishnah, who said it's because it's compared to water itself. According to that, no matter what the boat is made out of, it would still be tahor. Any boat is tahor. Hananya said, it's since it's made out of wood, we compare it to sack, and so wood has to be a container and has to be a portable container. And generally, a boat is not a portable container. You don't use a boat to haul things, to carry them. It's true, the water is carrying them, but people are not carrying them. And so two differences between them would be if it's made out of clay, then Tanakama would say tahor, because it's a boat. And Hananya would say it's tameh, because only piece of wood has to be a portable vessel, but something made out of clay does not have to be a portable vessel. Doesn't have to be a vessel at all. It could be any utensil. Or these Jordan boats, ferries, that are small, and they would actually fill them up on dry land and then haul them, probably by animal, into the ocean. And so they are made out of wood, and they are portable containers. And so Hananya would say that those are tameh, because they are portable containers, even though they are boats. And Tanakama would say it's a boat. Any boat, no matter what, is always tahor. All right, so those were the two opinions about that. And now we're going to go a little bit further into something being hauled by an animal. Amar Rava, it says, yes, in fact, if it can be hauled, if something is made out of wood, and therefore needs to be something that's a portable container, but it's only portable by being drawn by animals, is that considered carrying? Is that considered drawing and make it tameh? Yes, indeed. And we learned this from wagons. Ditnan shalosh agalot, and there are three types of wagons. Asuyot kikedera temea midras. If it's made like a chair, show you a picture, kind of like this, kind of a rickshaw. Ancient times, this might be hauled by a person. You see this in the Far East a lot, right? So someone sits on here. It's made for a person sitting on, so that they can be wheeled around. And so this, if a zav sits on it, it becomes tameh midras, because midras means for something that holds someone's weight. It's made for that, so that becomes tameh tumat midras. The second kind is kimita temeat tumat tameh met. If it's a flatbed, kind of like this, and then something, a corpse or something like that, is rested on it, then it will become tameh, like a tumat met. Shel abanim tehora mikelum. If it is stone, there's two opinions here. Either the wagon itself is made out of stone, in which actually stone doesn't become tameh. But I think the more logical opinion is if it's carrying stones, then tehora miklum. That would be a case where it doesn't have a bottom, so it's not much of a container. It would just be some netting that would hold the stones, and so therefore it's not a container, and it's okay. Rabbi Yochanan adds to this Mishnah, if there are holes but in the bottom, but the holes are small enough that a pomegranate would not fall through, then it is considered a container, right? So that depends on the size. So like this one is an actual one, actual ancient Roman wagon from Pompeii. It seems that it's missing a board. But so that's the law. If it's a container, it's tameh. If it's not a container, it just has a lot big holes, then it's tahor. Okay, what's our point? What do we learn from all this? Well, you see that a wagon like this, if it was filled with rocks or stuff, would be kind of heavy and could only be pulled by animals. Yet it's made out of wood and it's pulled by animals. It's called tameh. Even though a person cannot carry it, it's still called portable, even though it's only by animals. And so therefore, Hananya has good proof that a boat that's similar would also be tameh. We continue with the Mishnah, even though we don't need it directly. Shalosh tebot hen teba shepitcha misida tumea midras. Three kinds of crates. Crate that is open from the side, so the top you can sit on it. People would always look for things to sit on, and so it doesn't interfere with the uses of the storage unit, which opens from the side. So if a zav sits on it, it's considered a chair, and it gets tumat midras. If it's a top-loading box, then only tumat met. I mean, someone could sit on it, but it would interfere, so it's not made for sitting on. If it's a very, very big one that cannot be moved and it's made out of wood, then it's totally tahor, because it's a permanent fixture, can't be moved. And so we have a proof for a chananya that something moved by animals, something immovable is tahor, something moved by animals is tameh. Tanu Rabbanan midras keli tahor. Rabbi Yosef Omer af hasefina. We have a cryptic baraita. We're going to try to figure out what it means, but it's something about tumat midras. If a zav sits on earthenware, it's tahor. Good, that's a general principle everyone agrees on with. Rabbi Yosef, however, says also sefina. What do you mean also sefina? What is it? This doesn't seem to connect with the beginning. So my kamar, what is the sefina? What kind of sefina? Amar of Zavid hachi kamar. We have to fill in the words. We're not changing any words here like we had to do last time. But you see, baraitot were transmitted, and sometimes they became very concise, and the exact context was forgotten. So he's quoting the exact words, but filling in the rest of it. So midras keli chares tahor, very good. Earthenware can never become tameh midras if a zav sits on it. Maga'o tameh, obviously, if someone touches it from the inside of the pitcher or bowl, it becomes tameh. Sefina shel cheres temea kechananya. A boat made out of earthenware would be tameh, like as Hananya said, right? That was his principle. By the way, a boat made out of earthenware is a bit strange. I mean, earthenware is waterproof, but it's also really not very durable, and one bump and it'll crack. But perhaps it means something earthenware mixed with other straw and hay, other things that would make it more durable. Maybe it's just one of the layers. Okay, so in any case, the Tanakama here is following Hananya. The Biyose Omer Afa Sefina Tehora. He says no, an earthenware boat is tahor, which is what our Tana said above. All boats, he said, are tahor. And so that's how he fills it in. And in that case, the Tanakama of this baraita would be like Hananya, which is good for Hananya. Matkif la Rav Papa, my af. Rav Papa says, I don't like this interpretation of Zvid, sorry, because it says the word af. Af usually comes to add something. And in your reading of Rav Zavid, everything is tameh, right? This is tameh, this is tameh. And what are you saying? Also, this is tahor. It doesn't make sense. And so he prefers a different one, a different interpretation. That's the same. Everyone agrees. Umaga'o tameh. That's the same. Touching earthenware makes it tameh. Shel etz ben midraso ben maga'o tameh. If something is made out of wood, then it can become tameh through midras, zav sitting on it, or by touching. Vesfina tayarden tehora. the Jordan River ferry is tahor. Oh, that follows Tana Didan, who said, our Tana that says all boats are tahor. But Rabbi Yosef omer, afa sefina temea kechananya. And Rabbi Yosef comes and adds, no, that boat is tameh, the Jordan ferry, and that follows Hananya. So he says, afa sefina, what? So he says, afa sefina temea. Okay, so he switches around the opinions, and so this interpretation of the Baraita supports the Tana of the Mishnah more than Hananya, who's equated to the Da'at Yachid of Rabbi Yosef here. Okay, now since we mentioned this Baraita, within the Baraita, we mentioned this principle that earthenware cannot become tameh midras. If a zav sits on it, then it does not affect earthenware. Midras kli tahor min tahor. What is the source of this? And we're going to bring three proofs, three sources, and then we'll get to the next Mishnah. Amar Chizkiya Amar Qira v'ish asher yiga b'mishkavo. This is Vayikra Tetvav, right? That's the chapter all about Zav and Zava and Nida, and it says a person who touches the bed of a Zav. In other words, the Zav who sits on a bed makes it tameh tumat midras. A person who touches that bed will receive that tumah because that's a special tumah of midras. Now, mekish mishkabo lo. It talks about mishkabo, not just any bed, but it says his bed, the bed of the Zav. So there's a connection between the bed and the Zav. Mahu itle tahora b'mikveh. Just like a Zav can become tahor by going into a mikveh. In his case, he needs a spring. Af mishkabo nameh itle tahara b'mikveh. So too, something that he sits on has to be an item that can be purified in a mikveh. So a bed is a utensil that can be purified in a mikveh. Usually it's made out of wood or leather. However, a kli cheres, earthenware, cannot itself become tahor in a mikveh, and therefore is not analogous to the zav, who can become tameh, who can become tahor in a mikveh. So this derivation excludes earthenware. We have a similar one. Deber Rabbi Ishmael Tana. Kimishkav, this one is a baraita, and Kimishkav nidata yela. This is not talking about nida, where the bed of a nida becomes tameh through midras. Mekish mishkaba la. Her bed is like her. It's the same idea, just using nida instead of zav. Mahi itla tahora b'mikveh. Just like a nida can become purified by going to mikveh. Af mishkava nameh itla tahora b'mikveh. So too, her bed that she sits on or lies down on can only become tumat midras if it is similar to her, and it is also an item that can be made tahor in a mikveh. It switches to Aramaic as a commentary explaining this excludes earthenware, which cannot become tahor in a mikveh. Okay, so same principle. Matib Rabbi Ila'ah has a question on this derivation from a baraita. Mapatz bemet minayin, a reed mat made out of wood. It's a mat. How do you know that it can become tumat met if you put a dead body touching it? How do you know that a reed mat can become tameh? V'dinhu, we can learn it from a kal vachomer. Ma pachin ketanim shetehorin bezav temein bemet. Pachim ketanim. We have a picture of a small pitcher. Small pitcher is made out of earthenware. So, and any earthenware does not become tameh from a zav sitting on it. So, if earthenware is tahor from a zav, but yet if a dead dead body touches it, then it's tameh. Then mapatz shetameh bezav. Mapatz is something that is made for lying down on, and so if a zav lies down on such a reed mat, it becomes tameh. So you see, it's more tameable than a little jug. The bezav enodin sheyeh tameh bemet. Then the reed mat, all the more so, should receive tumat met, because it does receive tumat zav. So it's all the more so should receive this type of tumat as well. So that's a proof from a kal vachomer. Ve'amai ha let tahara b'mikveh. Hold on, but I have a question about this kal vachomer, because the pachim ketanim, those small earthenware jugs, cannot become tahor in a mikveh. So that's why they're exceptional, according to both of these derivations. That's the reason they're exceptional. But a reed mat is made out of, which is made out of wood, can become tahor in a mikveh. And so this, if this is really a derivation, then we would have a problem with this baraita. Amar Rabbi Chanina, Shane hatam ho'il ve'ika bemino. No, the reed mat itself is made out of wood, but is not a container, right? Because it can't contain anything. And so it's different from other pieces of wood. Rabbi Chanina, however, says, since there are other things that are made out of wood, like a wooden bowl, which can become tameh, and you can dip in a mikveh, and so too a reed mat, even though it can't be put in a mikveh because it's not a vessel, but there are other things that are wood that can. Therefore, a reed mat can become tumat met. So he says, which is different from earthenware, where there is nothing that is made out of earthenware that can be put into a mikveh, and therefore should never get tumat midras. But with wood, there is something that can be, and therefore wood should be within the category of both midras and tumat met, according to this. So Rabbi Eli says back to Rabbi Chanina, may God save us from your point of view. Right? You're totally wrong. You can't compare this and that and something else that's like it in the same category, therefore everything in the category. And he says back, he says, no, opposite. God should help us. God should save us from your point of view. Okay. Now, ta'amai, what is the reason that Rabbi Chanina allows for this? If there's something else in the category, you can also put this into the category. Because actually there's two pesukim regarding tumat midras. Ketiv isha shirigab mishkabo. That's the one we had before. Uchtiv kol mishkab asher yishkab alav hazav yitma. Any mishkav, any bed that the zav touches, becomes tameh. Hakesad. So what do you have? Two pesukim. Yesh b'mino afagav delet letahara b'mikveh. Sometimes there's an item that there is something else of that kind, not the reed mat itself, but there are other wooden items that can become tahor. So even though this item, the reed mat itself, cannot, still. Even though this item cannot become tahor in mikveh, the reed mat, but there are other wooden items that can, and therefore the reed mat does receive tumat met and tumat midras. And b'mino makish mishkabo lo. But the second, the pasuk from Vayikra, that's talking about earthenware, because there is nothing in the category of earthenware that can be put into a mikveh and become tahor, and therefore no earthenware gets tumat midras. And so that's how Rabbi Chanina resolves this, because he has two pesukim. All right, now back to that, we have yet a third derivation. Rava Amar, no, not from this comparison, but rather midras keli cheres tahor mehacha. We can learn it from this pasuk. V'chol keli patuach asher en samid patil alav. This says that anything that is made out of earthenware that is open, right, then the tumah goes inside. But if it's closed up, if it's sealed, then the tumat met, tumat ohel, specifically, if there's a dead body in the room, then a sealed clay jar protects what is inside from tumah. Hayesh tamid patil alav tahor, right? If there is a tie around it, it would be tahor. Me lo askinan de yachadinhu de ishto nida. Are we not talking about a case of an item made out of earthenware that he made as a chair for his wife when she's nida? And it's not only that, the pasuk is talking about any item, but it could include an item. This would be relevant because perhaps one doesn't want his wife to go sit on all the chairs and all the beds because they all become tameh. So you set aside, here's an earthenware box or bench, and sit on that, and it won't become tameh midras. And so that would be good. And yet it's still tahor, right? Even though it's an item that nida can sit on. And so that's his proof that tumat midras does not apply to kele cheres. Okay, and now we are ready for the next Mishnah. And for this, I'm going to move on to the Koren, because we'll have some nice pictures here, and the structure is not so complicated. All right, Mishnah asks, Minayin l'aruga shehi shisha al shisha tefachim shezor'ayin betocha חמישה זרעונים, ארבע על ארבע רוחות הרוגה ואחד באמצע, שנאמר כי כארץ תוציא שמחה וכנה זרועיה תשמיח, זרעה לא נאמר אלא זרועיה. This Mishnah has nothing to do with Shabbat. It's talking about the laws of Kil'ayim. It's only here because it is yet another example of a halacha that we learn from a pasuk in Nevi'im and Ketuvim, in this case from Yeshaya. And again, we're not technically learning the halacha from it as we would, like a kal vachomer that we learn from a pasuk, but more of the realia. We can learn something interesting about how things work from this pasuk in Yeshaya. So in the case here is, if you have a small patch of garden, that's 6 by 6 tefachim, and you want to know what's the maximum number of different species that one can plant in it, the answer is 5. And if you set it up as follows, there's many different opinions about what exactly the Mishnah means, but it's something like this. If you put 4 on each side and 1 in the middle, and then there's sufficient space between them and in the corners so that they are not mingling, they're not using the same roots, they look separate, then that is fine, that is permitted. Some say it's this kind of setup. Others fill in a bit more. Rambam says, you make the middle one bigger. Tiferet Yisrael, you can make this kind of shape. Okay, but the point is, you can get 5 different species in one patch of land, and we know this from a pasuk in Yeshaya. Has a pasuk in Yeshaya mean that? That's the first question of the Gemara. My mashma, how does a pasuk mean 5 different things? Amar Rav Yehuda ki cha'aris tosi simcha. By the way, the pasuk in its origin is talking about Bnei Israel coming back to the land and flourishing, and the land will grow and be prosperous. So that's why it has so many synonyms for its growth. But now we count how many there are, and we see Tosi, that's 1, Simcha is 2, Zeru'eha is a plural, so that counts as 2, Tereha Arba, and the word Tasmiach, Had, and so there you go, you get 5. And so one patch of land, which is standard size 6 by 6, can have 5 different. And the rabbis have a tradition that they know that if all these 5 do not draw sustenance from the roots of each other, and so they can be separated, and that works. All right. Now we have a question. How do you know this tradition that they have? This is not a halachic tradition. You see that the halacha is based on the reality of you have to know how things grow. And so how can we trust that? Where does it come from that they know these agricultural principles? Amar Rabbi Chiya bar Abba Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mai dichtiv lo tasig gebul re'aecha asher gabelu rishonim. Do not take over your neighbor's border, that if there was a border stone there from a long time ago. The literal meaning is, don't move your border over this ancient border stones. Here's the edge of your property, and you go at night and you move it over to get an extra 3 feet on your land. No, you gotta go look at the old survey from 1900 and see where is your property boundaries. That's the pshat. But the midrash on this is gibul shegabelu rishonim lo tasig. If the ancient traditional, in this case farmers, had some wisdom and knowledge about laws that have to do with borders, then we should trust them. So my gabelu rishonim, who are these rishonim? Amar Rabbi Shemuel bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yochanan, ma dichtiv ele bnei se'ir hachori yoshebei haaretz. In Bereshit 36, it has a whole section about the people that live in Seir. And whenever we read this, we're like, and why is this important for us to know? It's not part of our history, and it has a list of kings and of this nation. So what is the significance of it? And so here's part of the answer, is that some of these names here are not simply names, but actually tell us about the people that lived there. Their descriptions. What do you mean? Why do you have to say that they're Yoshevei Haaretz? That these people, Lachori, were living on the land. Why? Were they the space cadets? Right? They go up into the International Space Station. They couldn't launch yesterday. I mean, they can get through the atmosphere, but they can't get through a few clouds. I don't get it. Every plane goes through clouds. All right. But anyway, back then they couldn't go to space either. So what it means that they were Yoshevei Haaretz is Shahayu Bekiin B'Yishuvah Shel Eretz. They understood well how to tame the land, how to domesticate the earth. They could look and say, this measuring rod of land, not even a whole field, but just this little piece is good for olives. And right next to it, you know what? This is good for grapes. And the next one for figs. That's why they're called Yoshevei Haaretz. Vehori, what does hori mean? Shemerichim. Similar letters. Switch the order. They would smell the land and they would know what it's good for. In fact, there are different pH levels that nowadays we test by with tools to know the quality of the soil. But before they had that, they could smell or taste the dirt, and they could tell what it would be good for. They were real experts. They would taste the land like a snake and say, "Oh, this is the right mixture for olives." Another interpretation that's not relevant to us is Chori, they were freed of their possessions by Esav, who took over their land. And so you see, our knowledge of horticulture comes from ancient experts who knew how things grow and how much you need to separate, and therefore they can be trusted.
So is this because is this because the rabbis are so removed from an agricultural agrarian culture at this point?
No, most people are farmers. Even rabbis, knew farming well.
Did they?
It's true they live in cities. Most of the rabbis are living in more urban areas, and in Sipori, and so there are more. But everybody are farmers, and or if you're not a farmer, then your brother is a farmer. Okay. But this particular expertise is they learn from tradition. This is how you plant things. Not everybody's going out and testing everything. They're just following accepted wisdom. Okay, so that's how we know that. When you talk about a garden bed, a standard size that affects many halachot, is that it's a 6x6 area, and it excludes the boundaries. There has to be some boundary between. How much is the boundary between different garden patches? It will be the size of a width of a foot, not the length of a foot, but the width of a foot, which is the same as a tefach. You can test it on yourself. Amar Rabbi Zera, Betem Rabbi Chanina bar Papa. My Tamad Rabbi Yehuda, Dichtib, Bishkita Blaglecha, Kegan, Hayarak, Ma Regel Tefach, Achkebul, Dame Tefach. Part of the blessings of Israel is that you can water it with your foot. And no, sorry, that's Egypt. Talking about Mitzrayim. It doesn't have rain, right? But you irrigate it by kicking open the door of the irrigation channel. So anyway, it's comparing a foot with a garden, and so therefore the size of the border would be the width of a foot.